we are turning our kids into zombies. I don't mean that literally, but about 7.5% of U.S. children between the ages of 6 and 17 are receiving medication for emotional or behavioral difficulties, and this is by the CDC. You can read up on it. That doesn't seem like a lot. Think of it like this: 17.1 million young adults have a diagnosable psychiatric disorder. And this information was gathered by census data and uploaded to the Child Mental Institute website. So you can go on there and check that out as well. Um, Medication can be very effective when dealing with mental disorders or behavioral issues, especially in young children. However, the lines are becoming more blurred. What is usually or could be, helpful medications and this and that is now becoming a quick fix to deal with our children. It's also noticeable that parents can't always distinguish what is a disorder or disease and what is normal child behavior. Most common disorders that parents are using medication for are bipolar disorder, ADD, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, anxiety, and depression. So let's start with the type of medications used for these disorders. For antidepressant and anti-anxiety prescribers commonly use Prozac, Zoloft, um, Xanax, things like that. For ADD, ADHD, prescribers commonly use stimulants like Ritalin, Focalin, Vyvanse, and Adderall. For bipolar and PTSD disorders, doctors use Risperidone, Abilify, and Seroquel. Now, keep in mind, these are some pretty strong medications. Although, of course, a lot of times they're starting off with slow doses, um, but sometimes they can get pretty high, and that's scary. I know one child, he actually used to use meds for ADD. He no longer does it, but he actually spoke to his doctor and basically was telling them, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel I like feel out of my own body. Not good. Um, so because there's jumping back to that, because there are two aspects to bipolar disorder, manic and depressive, doctors have to be extra careful when administering, and sometimes they even have to add another med for anxiety and anger. So if you have, say, depression and anxiety or bipolar and anxiety, you might be taking two different meds. So also got to be careful with that. Now you're taking more than one medication. These are, keep in mind, a lot of these meds are administered to kids as young as 5 to 6 years old. Um, Here's the problem. At that age, even in 2020, it's very hard for psych doctors to distinguish what is mental health and what is a child's characteristics and or personality. At the age of some of these children are being diagnosed, they are still growing physically, mentally, and emotionally. They're not fully cognitively developed. According to statistics, children and young adults with more anxiety, depression, things like that, those disorders are at higher risk for substance abuse in adulthood. Um, they start at that age, like especially the teenage years. It's as early as 13, 14, 15, starting to get up there, and then heavy drug use begins by adulthood. Um, that is if they make it to adulthood, because the national suicide rate in the youth is also higher than when they have one or more of the issues I previously described. It's also the third leading cause of death in teens. So now we're getting into deeper issues here. Um, they also tend to achieve less academically and more likely to engage in early parenthood. Depression alone is the leading cause of disabilities in the U.S. in people over the age of 5. So, and children with ADD or ADHD, they're at a higher risk for lower education, job and relationship loss, as well as experiencing more automobile accidents and drug use. So, what can we do? Like, while it's not possible to prevent health illness or mental illness in children. There are other ways to not only catch it and help with disorders, but to make things easier for your family. Um, and when I say catch, I mean that's as simple as paying attention to your children. So trying to see the signs or, recognizing things as early as possible. It can start with doing your research. Half of the children being treated with meds have not been fully tested for other causes of behavioral issues that might be treatable with like extensive therapy or other ways. Um, some children are even misdiagnosed, unfortunately. I myself was actually misdiagnosed. So yeah, now it's a that's a big problem because if you're taking meds for something you don't even have, and that's dangerous. I believe if we attempt other ways and stop rushing to meds as a quick fix, we can begin to discern some of our kids' regular behavior. This is especially helpful when you notice behavioral differences. So parents should try to understand what is normal acting out in tantrums and what is not, and also the why. Why are these things going on? Is there things going on in homes? Is there things that we can prevent? So we all have an obligation to our children to do all that we can, helping them to grow into accountable, responsible, healthy, amazing, stable adults. It's not that hard, but if we do all that we can do as parents, and like I said, that part is not easy, but you definitely want to make time to pay attention to your children. Because sometimes you're the problem. Sometimes it's not you, it's outside of you, it's beyond you. But getting them the help they need, the proper help they need, and you doing your research so you know how to handle it makes things so much easier on them. Thanks.